welcome back to the morning show, and it's now time for our program, Policing with You. And this morning program will be coming to you compliments National Bank, always here.
Stop standing in long ATM lines to withdraw cash. Use your national debit or black cards to complete a wide variety of transactions at supermarkets, variety stores, gas stations, pharmacies.
Well, you know what? Let me put a pause on that. Inspector Alwick Edwards is the host of the program. I'm the moderator, so I will let him introduce his guests this morning, even though I know all of them personally. But we'll get into our program, and then we'll open the lines later on for you to get in and ask your question. Good morning to you once again, Inspector Alwick Edwards.
Thank you, GQ. Good morning to you, and good morning to you listening via radio or the internet. My name is Alwick Edwards, Inspector of Police. This morning in the studio I have Divisional Commander, Superintendent Cromwell Henry, and Sergeant Winston Thompson from the LIO department. Please allow me to read a short introduction to our topic this morning, which is CariSecure. In September 2019, United States Agency for International Development, USAID, and the United Nations Development Program, UNDP, in collaboration with the government of St. Christopher Nevis, launched a police record information management system, PRIMS, under the scope of the CariSecure Project. As a part of this initiative, the Royal St. Christopher Nevis Police Force extends to introduce a new police incident report form by the end of the month. The introduction of that new form will require persons who make report to answer a few additional questions, the details of which we will get into short.
Intelligence Office, or LIO.
Well, good morning, listeners, and good morning, GQ. I don't think I need to introduce myself. I'm here almost every week. But just for those who might be listening for the first time, I'm Superintendent Cromwell Henry, Divisional Commander for Division A.
Thank you, gentlemen, for a short introduction. We go straight into the answering segment of today's show. Can you please explain the CariSecure Project?
Helping us to be able to collect, analyze citizen security data so that we can develop the policies that will effectively target the risk factors which drive youth violence and crime, as well as victimization within the Caribbean countries. The police services are the primary data collectors, and as such, we must therefore improve the quality and quantity of data that we collect so that we can also drive the relevant policies and strategies, as well as the government as well can also develop the policies and strategies needed to address the root cause of crime. As I said, as you said before, it's funded by USAID and it's implemented by UNDP.
Thank you, Sergeant Thompson. Since the launch in September, what has been done locally?
Quite a bit has been done since that launch. We've more or less completed our ICCS coding. The ICCS stands for the International Classification of Crime for Statistical Purposes, and that is an international coding scheme that's used so that each country can be able to fit their crimes within a coding scheme, such as 01 represents homicides, 05 represents property crimes, and these codes go up from 01 up to 5 digits, so you'll be able to identify specific crimes based on the code. So we had to look at all of the crimes on our books, looking at all the different laws, and see how we can fit our laws within those codings so that when requests are made, we can quite easily then export or respond to the questionnaires that we might have relating to those specific codes and our crimes. Like I said, other things were done, such as we had a crime analysis training program from December 2019 that concluded in May this year. It was as I said, crime analyst training program which involved police officers and statistical officers from the participating countries. It was an intense 6 months of training where we looked at things such as the fundamentals of crime analysis, the crime analysis process and data collections and rationale, the spatial analysis. We're looking at things such as Google Maps, how we could use off-the-shelf programs to do mapping, as well as programs such as QGIS. We also looked at tactical, strategic, and administrative crime analysis and how we can create reports using programs such as SPSS and PSPP in conjunction with the spatial analysis. Not to bore you with it, it's a lot of stuff. So there was this, and also additionally, what we did was we set up our local police incident form application, which is part of the CariSecure Project, which just forms one of the various applications that's going to form part of the police record information management system. We had to populate that database with our local data, as did the other countries. They had to populate their own database with their own local data, such as location of places, the specific offenses, and I'm told in some jurisdictions they've uploaded their entire civil registry into their application, so that it makes it that much easier to, when someone makes a report, to pull up the information and have things, the process expedited. So we had to do that for the pilot stations, which are Figure Bay, Stapleton, and Cotton Ground Station. As time progresses, we roll it out to the other stations as the testing phase of the project continues. So that's more or less what we've done since September up till now.
Thank you, Sergeant Thompson.
And just to add, as the Sergeant mentioned, that it is being piloted in 3 stations. So it has not been rolled out in all police stations at this time. But that is the intention eventually. We just want to ensure that we able to iron out all the kinks. So these pilot stations are basically test stations, or whatever issues are discovered during this piloting phase, we would have those corrected, so that when we expand it throughout the entire organization, we will not have those problems to deal with throughout the entire force. So we are just using it at a few stations, 3 stations, 2 in St. Kitts and 1 in Nevis, so that we could be able to identify whatever issues or bugs that is within the application.
Thank you for that update.
Thank you, Superintendent Henry, for that additional information. This new form is just another step in the process. What's the difference between what we are doing now and the new form?
Well, the new form, the main difference between the new form in this under this project is that it would require more data, and so that is one of the reasons why we have to sensitize the public, because our citizens get quite upset when the police ask them questions that they think is unnecessary. They do not understand why the police is asking me, what church do you attend, for example. I come to make a report of something happened to me, and you're asking me what church I attend. But they do not see the big picture, that we are trying to get as much data as possible, so that when we do an analysis, we could have quite a wider set of data points to analyze. So, for example, we might be able to determine what denomination are targeted most, or victimized most, based on that information. If we ask what church you attend, we might recognize that Anglicans are targeted more than Methodists. These are some of the kind of analysis we could conclude from the data. So we would be asking quite a wider array of questions that may seem unnecessary and not relevant to what you are reporting, but you must understand it is for our future planning. So we will have data, nationality, for example. That is one of the things that we would ask: where you're from, where you're born, and where you're born, what that has to do with what I'm reporting. But we are able to determine what nationalities are targeted most, for example. And so you would find that you will be asked a few more questions than you are accustomed to, that may appear irrelevant to what you're reporting. And so we just wanted to understand that it is not to intrude, get into your business, as we will say, but it is to enable us to have a wider array of data so that we could do more analysis.
Thank you, Superintendent Henry. And I thank you for answering my follow-up question about what are some of the questions that would usually be asked in such a form, and give us an idea of what the questions are going to be. You answered it already.
Right, but maybe Sergeant Henderson will be able to. Sergeant.
Yeah, Thompson will be able to
What I was going to add to it,
expand on it.
we're looking at the socioeconomic and socio-demographic data that we previously would not have collected at this point in an investigation. Usually it's when the matter goes before the court, we might have to collect some of that data pertaining to a specific individual when a social inquiry report is being made, or when what we call an antecedent is prepared for court. So now it is, in order to do an extensive analysis of crime, we have to collect that data as early as possible so that we can have the data available to do the analysis, as was said.
Thank you, Sergeant Thompson. Let us pause at this juncture for a word of our sponsors, and on our return, open the call for and solicit call from the general public. Thank you.
And remember, this morning is coming to your compliments, National Bank. And remember, cashless SKN, it's our new lifestyle choice.
Mimi, what's that song? There is no better time to discover what your National Bank Visa debit card can do. It can get you out of a pickle.
Hi everyone.
Using my national...
My name is Vincia Collins from Vincia's Artistry. Today, I will be making a pair of earrings from plastic. So let's just get right into it. This is the pattern. It actually was cut from Clorox bottle.
2916. During the break, I asked you this question.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask it now for the
Big
public.
accent,
right?
Yeah, sure.
The areas that are selected for the testing grounds or the pilot stations, if I can put it that way.
Enough data to look at how best we can fix whatever issues may develop as we develop the database itself.
So in other words, you don't want to frustrate the system before you got it up and rolling.
Right.
Okay.
Or the officers, because they still have to use the system that they're using before.
Yes.
In addition to this new system, so they'll be using two systems.
Right.
And you don't want to have if they're too busy, they will not be able to manage the two systems simultaneously. So we want him to be able to choose stations that have low traffic, so that the officers could manage using the two systems simultaneously.
Get over that learning curve, so to speak.
Right.
Yeah.
All right, let's take our first call. Hi, good morning, and your life.
Good morning, GQ. Good morning, Alric.
Morning.
And Henry and the others.
Yes, sir. Good morning.
I wanna just ask 3 simple questions and make a suggestion. Henry, number 1, down the terminal. You know where Carraggio got hitting there where trade links used to be, right? Hey, Mr. Henry, you listening to me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yes, you know where the bus them just go on the eastern side to go in? And the opposite side by Dwyer them house there. You got some people going to vend there. And I think there where they're selling there is very bad, because that is a get off the road when vehicles is traveling very fast, especially a Friday time and a certain time in the week. And I personally feel you should go down there and send somebody to move them pallet and table there, because we old people that must walk in we country. You understand? You got to hide them there. To come down to reach to trade link, you got a lamp post. You have proper sidewall. And people gone there, go sell. And the market just a few steps out down the road. Are you correct this thing, please, Are you correct it? I don't want nobody say coming at the police. Without police, you ain't got no democracy in no country. Number 2, I want to know why the fire department looking like that. When Galloway was around, we used to look so. And the army, all this whole thing. I clean up the place, man. Clean it up. The another one I want to talk about, Henry. Why you all reach the way to start asking these questions? Because we got a lot of immigrants in here doing a lot of nonsense. And we're not going to work with it. My problem with the questions, them. The police must be tactical and be smart. Who had a conversation and ask a question. Don't just come and hoot in. And one more. I want to ask Henry, why when a person see abuse on the road and the police in the distance and they're shouting, he telling you, go up the station. The police in the station and the road. Asking the commissioner, to walk around town because we see them, we're hearing them. And it's a big concern out there. I'm the postman. Have a good day. You too. See you when I see you.
All right, buddy. Any response before we take any more calls?
Well, thank you for those questions, Jam Down. With respect to the vendors, I think on the traffic program yesterday, the inspector had indicated that efforts are being made, plans are in the works to address the vending problem. I know persons going to say it is long in coming and we're just talking, but we want to do it right. And so the vending issue is very high on our agenda, and it is being looked at and will be addressed appropriately at the appropriate time.
All right. Let's take another call. Good morning, line 3, you're live.
Good morning, all.
Good morning.
Okay. What has been talked about right now, does this have anything to do with the anti-terrorism?
No.
How should I put it, bill or law that was passed?
Right now we are dealing with a new project that we are embarking upon, where we are changing the way that we collect information from citizens, so that when persons come to make report, you would find that we might be asking more questions, or some questions that you might think might not be relevant. But the purpose of asking these questions is so that we could collect as much data as possible about crime and victimization, so that we could make decisions, the correct decisions based on the data.
Okay, I understand that. But the fact that the UND, whatever, United Nations Development, whatever,
yes,
something fund,
development program,
and so was mentioned, and in collaboration, I was wondering if this was really for internal consumption, and or this is just driven externally, because to me this is a bit late. It should have been there. So I was wondering if it is just externally driven, just like FATCA. Anyway, I'll continue to listen.
Well, no, it is funded by USAID and implemented by UNDP. I would not say it is late, because this is not the first time that we are speaking about this. In fact, the project has been launched since last year, September, and we've had programs on it before. We've had other public events recognizing the project, but we are just sensitizing the public now that we are closer to actually using the farms in the in some test stations. We don't want persons to be surprised and asking questions. Why are you asking me all these questions? No, we're hoping that persons would be sensitized and aware, and so that they will not be shocked by the extensive nature of the questions that we might ask.
All right, let's go back to the phone line. Line 2, you are live, and good morning to you.
Eh?
Hey.
Good morning and good morning, my superiors. Now, I agree with the police. Now, if I go in GQ yard and I chop off GQ dog neck and GQ call the police, and I agree with the police them to get as many information as possible. But one question I don't see fitting in that me chop off GQ, because I chop off GQ dog neck. That is the one which church I go to. And I'm going to tell you why I see where that fitting. You know what that comes in to do? If I supposed to be hanged to chop off GQ dog neck or get 74 years in jail, that question there is going to be asked the minister, the pastor of the church where I go. What kind of person I am? Then the minister will say, well, culture is a good boy, he does come Sunday school every day, and he does go to church. So that day now they're going to use that to say, well, okay, since he does go to church and everything, we ain't going to give him 75 years. We're going to just give him 6 months or a year. That is my opinion. Because I don't want to see where church got to come in with chop off GQ dog neck. And the second thing, I agree with Jam Dong right there on the bed where he talk about. There isn't enough space for somebody to put down a boys in box now, to put up pallet and all and kind of things selling. Them down there should be the first place they clean up from people selling on this side of the road. Anyway, thank you guys for the program.
Thank you for your call. Any response, gentlemen?
Yes, thank you, caller, for that question. A very relevant one. People might ask why we would have to ask these questions. There are a set of questions that we are going to be asking that will be for everyone that's making the report. That way, once we collect the data once, we don't have to collect it again. So once we collect that data from whether the person who reported the crime or the person who's the victim of the crime, it will be in our database. We won't have to ask that question again. So just to clarify that, there is a set of a data set that we're trying to collect that will help us with our analysis, and whereas it does not pertain to him now, he may be reporting someone damaging his property now, but down the road he may have a break-in. And then if we check our system, we realize, well, that's not in there, so we didn't have to ask him that question. So we collect it once, we don't have to collect it again.
So initially, it will be this way.
Right. Just once we collect the data once, we won't have to collect it again, regardless of what station the report is made, because that data is in our database, and you can access it from whichever station you're at.
Okay.
And one of the other things,
Sorry.
remember, this is part of a regional project,
Yes.
and so we are trying to standardize the way we collect data throughout the region, so that when we have international requests for data, the information will be uniform throughout the region. So you don't get one set of information from Sinkis, but you can't get it from Antigua, or it's different in Antigua. We want to standardize the way we collect data, so that when we report to our international partners, because we're not in the world by ourselves, we are asked questions by international agencies. We'll be able to standardize the way the information is presented will be standard throughout the region.
Okay.
And not that we cannot give them what information they're asking for.
And even when we talk to our regional partners, we're looking at similarities in crime. And now that we're more intertwined as a region, we're looking at what crimes are happening in other regions as well, because people are moving from region to region.
Right.
So we have to take note of that as well.
Remind me to make a comment on that point. Line 4, you are live, and good morning.
Yes, good morning. Referring to the question and the proposed document, couldn't that one question concerning church be rephrased by religion? Because anybody could go to a church, so shouldn't it be religion? Thank you.
Well, yes, you're correct. I said church, but actually that is what will be asked, your religion. Whether you're a Christian, whether you're Muslim, whether you're Rastafarian, that would be the actual question. But I just said church to simplify it a bit. But yes, you're right, Carl.
Line 1, you are live, and good morning.
Good morning, Deacon, and good morning, officers. Could the word surveillance be substituted for the word data collection?
You understand the question?
Well, yeah, if we could substitute the word surveillance for data collection. I don't think we use the word surveillance. We've been using data collection all the time.
As I said before, a lot of this data we have been collecting, but in certain circumstances. As I said before, our antecedent forms, we will ask all of these questions. What's your religion, education background, when we present our reports or case files. But it's usually for matters that we take to the court.
Right.
We're saying is that now we need to collect from every report, we need to collect that data so we can do our analysis, because eventually, even though the matter does not go to court today, 6 months from now, that person may have a matter that go to court. We then have to go and collect it, whereas if we had collected it in the first place, we wouldn't have to go and collect it. So collect once, and we'll have it there to use whenever we needed to use it.
Okay. Line 2, good morning, and you're live.
YouTube, me again. Henry and Alric and the other police. I want to thank 3 police who been busy around Bastille and doing a very good job, especially at Ansness, we have in over and Port Zante. Trying to hard we people them down there paying big rent, and that they ain't gonna tolerate, because that Port Zante is the hub of this country, and I want the chief of police now, he got to shield these people down there from these Taiwanese we got here. I want to thank Officer Powell, Sergeant Powell. Oh, they really displaying the policing. I want to thank Rose and another fellow who assured me that I see some signs down there last Friday. Because we seen some carelessness down there, as I talked to you already, Henry, and me born here. And this country gonna make money. Once I in the land that they live in. Because I afraid them, who got gun come with gun? You understand? I got me mouth, I can talk. Henry, please, to take a look very serious at Port Zante. We cannot get young men coming down the end and the valley of Port Zante and down there smoking in front of the people and playing in the night, playing in front of the people and shop. How never make money? That is with tourist block. I'm very serious with here, you know, because I'm in nowhere else. And I want to adopt the protocol. GQ, have a good day.
Have a good day too, Jamdong. Any response, gentlemen?
Well, Jamdong, I want to assure you that we do take Port Zante serious, and Port Zante is very high on our list of places to pay attention to. In fact, we think we have a permanent presence down there now, 24 hours. So at any time you go down there would be a police or soldier down at that site. So we do take it serious, and Alwick could vouch for that. His men are there at nights. My men are there during the day. In addition to the defense force that has a presence there. So we are taking Port Zante serious.
Thank you. I have a few more questions.
Sure.
What will the information be used for?
As we said before, the information is primarily to create the policies that the police and the government needs to address the root cause of crime. So when we look at tactical crime reports, we're looking at short-term crime and incidents and how best to address them in the short term. The administrative crime reports are looking at the overall administration of the police force, whether we need to change our shift systems and issues like that. So that in a nutshell is what we're trying to address in being able to create those types of reports based on the data that we collect. As I said, some of the data we were not collecting before. Some of it we need to collect more of it and collect it more accurately, right? And the quality of it also has to be collected. One of the things we learned in the training course is that there should be no more than say 5% of empty data set, so to speak. So we have to make sure our officers are out there collecting the data and not just leaving the forms blank or incomplete. Because we need the data. I mean, if we don't have the correct time frame in which break-ins or robberies took place, then we can't effectively police an area or the time frame in which those offenses took place.
To see the trend.
Right. We have to see the trend, whether time-wise or spatial-wise. Right. So we can collect. So we can allocate our resources appropriately.
In other words, it helps us to understand the problem so that we could deal with it. So if crimes are happening predominantly in X place and we don't know, we'll be in Y place while the crimes are happening in X place.
Right.
So if we know that from the data that you have a cluster of crime happening over here in this particular location, or a particular type of crime is predominant in this particular location, we'll be able to revert our resources to that particular problem.
And also jump ahead of the situation as well, because sometimes you live in an area,
right?
And because you live in the area, you see the trend.
Yeah.
But as a police officer or the police command, you don't live in that area.
Right, so you don't know.
But if you're getting reports
and
the data,
right.
you can
Yes.
say, well, hey,
you can look at the data
yes.
and see where the problem is.
Right. Predictive policing also is one of the things that we're looking at in as well within the training course, that we were able to try and using mathematics, standard deviation, we're able to say between 60% between what time and what day a crime is going to happen up to 95%. So we'll be able to do an analysis and say, okay, based on the data we currently have, we can predict between a 68 and 95% accuracy, the next crime is going to happen between this date and that time. But we have to collect data first, be able to do that.
Right. Understand.
In other words, we want to move to the point where we could tell where the crime is going to happen
Before it happens.
so that we could prevent it from happening.
I get that, gentlemen. I get that. But I think the issue at hand here is getting the information.
Right. That now
is
brings
what we're
us.
at now.
That now brings us to another issue we have on the part of our listening audience. Just the other day, I got a call from an officer, and he's letting me know that an individual wants to report a break-in. He doesn't really want to report it, mind you, but he was told to report it by when he made a complaint to a senior officer. And then he's going to speak about something that happened before that he never reported to the police.
Wow.
We cannot know unless it's reported. So we're imploring persons who are victims of crime to let us know when you become a victim of crime so that we can know the areas that crime are actually occurring in. Unless we know that, we won't be able to allocate our resources appropriately.
If I may give another example along that line, a resident in Frigate Bay told me once, and she was not making an official report, she was just in conversation, that on 2 occasions, very early in the morning, just after 5 o'clock, 2 persons, a male and a female, came to their homes, knocked and asking to be allowed to come in to do an inspection. They couldn't show any ID, they couldn't say where they're from, what kind of inspection, they just wanted to come in to do an inspection. The person, of course, did not open for them and they left. No, that wasn't reported. So, if you don't report these type of things, the police would not know that there is people going around doing this type of activity until they get into somebody's place. Then they're going to say, since last month they've been coming around and asking.
Yes.
But had we known since last month that people were going around in the area doing this, we would have been able to put resources in that area to stop it before it reaches to the point where someone is actually victimized. So it is important to report.
Good example. Good example. Gentlemen, Mr. Edwards.
Well, I have a few more questions there. I'll try to rush them.
No, you don't have to rush. You don't have to rush.
Okay. How did the form fit into the PRIMS?
All right. The Police Incident Form, or PIF, as it's called, it's at the core of the Police Record Information Management System, or PRIMS. It collects the first interaction the public would have with the police in reporting any incident that occurred to any incident that they have to report to the police, whether it is loud music or burglary or robbery. So it's at the core of the project. The additional forms that are going to be formed part of it, like our arrestee records and bail records and other things. But this is the core where the victims come and make the report, that we're going to capture all the information that's relevant for the database.
Thank you, Sergeant Thompson. Superintendent Henry named 2 countries, St. Kitts, Nevis and Antigua, as regional countries that involve in CariSecure. Which other countries are involved?
Well, as I say, it's region-wide, and currently in the program we have Antigua and Barbuda, Grenada, Guyana, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, Suriname. So it covers, I make sure I say Grenada, covers a broad cross-section of the CariCo.
With the aim of getting everyone on board.
With the aim of getting everyone to standardize the processes.
Okay. Can we take some more calls?
Sure, we can.
Line 3, you're live, and good morning.
Thank you. Good morning.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning to your guest, Jim there.
Good morning, sir.
I don't normally listen to this program, but you know what, I called 2 weeks ago. You had a set of people there from this department, and I remember hearing the lady say, someone make a report, and they don't follow up on it, the police can't do nothing. You recall hearing one of them said that?
I know he's making reference to, but go ahead, make your point, and we'll respond afterwards.
But on the other side of that, how many times the same report make and the police don't do nothing? They never go on the flip side, but they try to keep their side. You know, I'm very eager to get this out of me, you know. 2018, 9:45 p.m. on the 30th of December, somebody tie a piece of cable across the road from Avec to Premier Dental, nearly bust with my throat. Nearly bust on my throat. The officer who was in charge then, she gave me all confidence that she going to work on this matter. When she was called to go by Premier Dental to get a run at the tape, she didn't show up. So you see why people dead don't go for nothing? Up to this day, the man slammed me throat. I could have dead, and me like could have gone for nothing. He could have been eyes them and knocked me throat. I might be blind today if I was alive. Every time I call, ask is possible. Every time I call, the possible telling me she talked to this, she talked to that. Nobody could get any information. As prior time as possible. Early in 2019. Almost gave me death. Nobody investigating on. This is why I can't believe, I can't get no comfort when I start investigating any kind of matter. I can't get no comfort because me life could have gone. And you just sweep under the rug. I will want to get this off the street. Thanks for your time, Ricky.
Well,
thank you for your call,
I'm really
Chukai.
sorry to hear of your situation. What I want to show you that is not the normal. That is not normal. We usually investigate, at least respond to all reports, or we try to respond to all reports. If that was not dealt with to your satisfaction, I really wish that you would have gone to the officer in charge of the station and file your grief. But the most I could say now is to apologize for whatever happened, but that is not the standard that we uphold. We seek to respond to all reports. And this system would ensure that happens, because the system would highlight the status of the report. And so supervisor would be able to tell whether or not this report was dealt with or responded to. And so this would improve our response and our management of the reports going forward.
Sergeant Thompson, you look like you wanted to say something.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure with that.
Okay. Inspector Elwick?
Yes, sir. Is it police, only police in the region will be dealing with using this information?
Well, other police force have other systems that might be similar. It might not be the exact same system, but the information would be similar. Because remember I said this is bringing our systems into line with the international community. So we might have other systems out there that are different but collect the same type of data, and this will be in line with those systems. Okay. I didn't mention Barbados in the list of countries yet, but Barbados is one of those countries. So Antigua, Barbados, Grenada, Guyana, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, and Suriname.
Gentlemen, forgive me, right? I know we're here to promote the CariSecure Project. And with that call that we just received, it's bothering me.
Yeah.
The reason for that is because it's almost saying he doesn't believe in the system. He doesn't believe it's going to work, because here's a situation that he has been in, and to this day, no satisfaction.
Yeah.
And he called the name of the officer, and he gave the date and everything. Can there be any follow-up to address this concern?
Well, I would advise that he come to the station and speak with me. Come to Bass State Police Station, call her, and ask for Superintendent Henry, and we will see how we could salvage your situation.
Yeah, because we don't want to debunk the program,
right?
You know, and that's a very, very heavy and personal situation he brought to the table this morning. Yes,
it's really saddened me to hear
that
he almost lost his life, and he feels that he did not get sufficient satisfaction out of the police response.
Yes, thank you for addressing that. Let's take some more calls, Inspector Edwards. I'm not rushing you this morning. I'm not rushing you this morning, so don't worry. We'll get through it. We want to hear from the people this morning about the program. Line 2, you're live, and good morning.
Thank you very much. Jiko?
Yes, man. Morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
You look like you stopped line by Hartford. Bad here, me don't see you there now.
I'm watching COVID.
Exposing music.
Inspector Henry.
Yes, sir.
My boy.
Yes.
And the other police are who is there.
Inspector
Henry.
Edwards.
Inspector Edwards.
Morning, sir.
Inspector Henry.
Yes, sir.
I spoke to you about that coming off of Frigate Hill there some months ago. I don't know how I'm going to deal with it. But what I noticed is that when you're coming out from Marriott and coming around here, it's not all the time the man coming down off the hill gives you the right away. He always tries to beat you. And most of them, you either have to slow down. But you know with the challenges, coming out from Frigate Bay, from Timothy Beach Hotel, I told you that you should sit down and see if you shouldn't just put the slow down there to indicate to the person coming out, because even though the person coming out from Timothy Beach Hotel, who have the right of way to go straight, the man coming out from Frigate Bay Hill don't stop. So it is very ticklish. You told me that you were going to look at it. I don't know how you're going to deal with it, Inspector, because it's ticklish. Because the man, most time the man coming out from Frigate Bay Hill don't stop. So I coming out of Timothy Beach now when I come in from beach.
You mean the Southeast Peninsula coming off the Southeast
Yes,
Peninsula?
and they don't stop. They mean that you coming out from Frigate Bay Beach from Timothy Beach must stop. And that ain't how the traffic said. But the funny thing about it, the traffic is also saying you give way to the traffic on the right.
So that the
So
person
who has the right of way? When the person coming out of Frigate Bay Hill and you have the slow down there, who have the right of way? Me coming out of Timothy Beach Hotel Road that don't have no slow down, or the one who coming down from Frigate Bay Beach Hotel, who's supposed to stop? Who is supposed to give me coming on the left the right of way? I don't know how you're gonna deal with it, sir. But many times I have to sit down because I said, when he got off, there's something that indicate that he's supposed to stop, and he won't stop. He won't so long. I think the other day you had a serious accident where one of those cement truck, either cement truck or something, went on the other side. So, Inspector Henry, I don't know how you're going to deal with it because it's a ticklish situation. People coming up the hill, they don't want to stop because they're coming down full bend. And I coming out from Timothy Beach is not supposed to stop. So common sense can have to deal there. You're either going to have to put the slow down. So one of us says, well, boy, there's a slow down. Let me stop and let pass. Because the fellow coming up the hill there, he don't want to step. The other issue that I noticed, big people do not know how to cross the road in St. Kitts. Children are more cautious than big people. And I see it a lot in front of the station there, just coming out there from the prison. The prison to go in the prison there. A lot of people start to cross there. And this is what they do. Big people step down on the sidewalk. They don't look for traffic coming from the east, because a lot of time that's the problem I got with them. And they just cross the road. I said, but look here, this is a big man, a big person, not the doubt. When I can't hit you, they'll break you up, kill you, maim you, put you in the hospital. That don't cross. When I cross in the road, Inspector Henry, I looking left, right, and a hustle across the road there. So I don't know what you all could do. I hope that some of them listen to me. A lot of them walking again with their bloody earphone in the ear. I don't know how you could hear what's going on around your earphone in your ear. I am not complaining to you. I'm just trying to make the people who may be listening now, who do the kind of nonsense to be more aware of it. But that forget the thing, Inspector Henry, you gotta start it out because luckily we don't have an accident there. But I coming out from Timothy Beach, I have the right of way. Me supposed to stop for the man coming off of Frigate Bay Hill. But common sense and my life, I just stop and let him pass. So I just thought I should raise that to you because I raised it to you already. Maybe you could sit down and see whether you could put the slow mark for either one decide, well, a slow mark here, let me stop and let him pass because something needs to be done right there. Anyway, good program. GQ.
Yes, man.
I want to see you about Hartford now. What happened? You hiding from me?
just now.
See when to see you.
See when to see you. What we're going to do right now, with your permission, I know this is a very important topic this morning, right? That's why I told Inspector Edwards that I won't rush you this morning. We're going to take a break and we'll be back. I want to make sure we get the point over to the public. And Superintendent Henry, I will not join. I know he means well, but just letting him know that it's Superintendent and not Inspector. We have Inspector Edwards in the studio, though. Thank you for your call, and I'll see you when I see you. Don't touch the dial. We'll be back right after a quick word from our sponsors. And this morning program is coming to you. Compliments National Bank. Always here.
Mimi.
bit this morning. Reason being, we want to make sure we get the cooperation of the public on this CariSecure project, which Sergeant Thompson has indicated, it's a data collection project. Let's go back to the phone lines, gentlemen, and let's take our next call. Line 1, you are live, and good morning to you. All right, let's try line 3, sorry. Good morning, you're live.
Yes, again.
Yes.
I have a question for the policeman. Is the thing what they call in decent language, locally bad word, is that legal in St. Kitts or illegal? Because reason why I'm saying that, I know when I was going to school, and you bust a bad word on the police hear you, he come and he warn you, chastise you, and we start to cry. How we afraid to get locked up. But now, you got some men, when they're out there doing the stupidness, breaking the law in the public, and the police go and talk to them. They want to use more in front of the police and threaten the police, and some of the police will just walk off, leave them. So I want to know, why is that? If bad word legal, and if it is legal, well then all the police them should know. And if it is not legal, all the police them should know and carry out the duty. Don't let nobody get away with nothing. And show the police fight. Because the police come and talk to you, you want to show the police fight and use more bad word? Anyway, that's my question. Have a good day, gentlemen.
You too. You have a good day.
No, it is not legal. It's still an offense to make use of indecent language in public.
All right, let's take this next call. Let's try line 1 again. Let's see if we get lucky this time. Okay, no luck there. Let's try line 3. Good morning.
Hi, good morning. Pertaining to the CariSecure, I just want to know, how secure is the system? Also, how many times per year does the system update itself, and do you have something in place? Because we all know with updating, you do lose information when it comes to these kinds of systems. But what measures do you have in place to this loss?
All right, your last part of your question was distorted. I think it's the phone line might have hampered that. Can you repeat that, please?
The last question I had was how many times would the information be updated in the system? And if the information is updated, what measures do you have in place to ensure that the information is not lost?
All right, thank you for your question.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, which one of you will choose to answer that question?
While I'm not too au fait on all of the intricacies of the backup process as well as the security processes that are in place, I do know that they have a firewall in place. I do know that the firewall will affect security. There are officers who are trained in information technology. We also have let me not speak to some names, but I know we have firewall security. I know that they have, in terms of the yes, there is backup process. I'm not sure if they have, if it's on-site or off-site. I can't speak to that right now, but I know there is a backup process as well.
So we shouldn't worry then.
Well, I could say that we would have considered all these issues in terms of security. The designers of the application, yes, and the person responsible for the network, they would have taken all that into consideration and ensure that the system is secure and not easily accessed by an unauthorized person. So
it's a closed system.
We really took security serious. Right. It's not exposed on the internet. We have a VPN, and it's localized to each country so that persons do not have access to it via the internet. So right. Security, we're given high consideration in the design of this project.
And it's only accessible at these specific stations.
Right.
You'd have to have a terminal at the station to be able to access it.
Okay, so you can access it remotely?
From anywhere else.
Okay. Right. All right, let's go back to the phone line. Let's try line 4. Good morning. All right, let's try line 2. Good morning.
Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning. I'm just calling to advise the officers something needs to be done about the roundabout here in Bird Rock, because persons going to South Pelican Drive, they do not go around the roundabout, they just go straight across. So I don't know if they could put some marking with the arrow pointing that they need to go around the roundabout. That would be helpful. Thanks.
All right. Thank you for your call.
We had that complaint before, and I'm almost certain that
there's a sign.
There's a sign in the roundabout saying keep left. There are arrows, they give a sign as you approach, and there's arrows pointing left. You should keep left around. So we did place signs at that roundabout, but it is more convenient to some persons to go straight, and so they take that chance. That's something that you might have to deal with the redesigning of the roundabout to force people to go around.
Okay.
Put up some cameras and start using video evidence.
Well, there you go. Line 4, you're live and good morning. Can you hear me? All right, we're not getting any response on line 4. Let's try line 1. We lost line 1. Line 3, good morning.
Good morning, GQ.
Good morning.
And good morning to Superintendent Henry and the other officers. As regards to the caller a while ago, in relation to the frigate Hill he spoke about, he has me confused to some extent, because when I look at the picture coming out of Timothy Beach, I want to believe he's talking about the hill coming from the peninsula, not the frigate hill. So I would like him to call back and clarify for me, please. Clarify it for the listening public.
All right, thank you for that.
You mean the hill coming from the peninsula, because that is the only hill at that roundabout. And the person who is coming from Timothy Beach, they have to give way to the person who is coming off of Timothy Hill. So that, I don't know if he's thinking that the person coming from Timothy Beach has the right of way to enter the roundabout.
It almost sounds that way.
The person coming from Timothy Hill would only have to give way to the person who is on their right, who might be coming from Marriott's side. But once you enter the roundabout, the person coming from Timothy Beach has to give way to
the person coming off the hill. All right. For those of you just turn on your radio, we are now discussing CariSecure Project. It's a project that it's here in St. Kitts. Pilot stations as, let me see if I'm correct, Nevis, Frigate Bay, and what's the other post?
Stapleton.
Stapleton.
So it's Cotton Grove Station, Frigate Bay Station, and Stapleton Police Station.
Right. And the purpose of this project is to collect data so that in the near future, the police can predict and also see trends of crimes in certain areas.
We're changing.
Am I? Okay.
Changing the way that we collect data, improving our data collection processes so that we could use that data more meaningfully in devising our strategies.
Right. And in doing so, they will have to be collecting more data than usual.
Yes.
So if you call for, so let's say a break-in, and you're looking for them to ask you where the break-in was and the time, and then to go beyond that, that's the reason for that.
The reason, right.
That's what you guys are trying to get across.
Yes. Like additional information we might ask that in the past we would not have access, like we might ask what's your occupation. We might then go further and ask you who is your employer, because where you're employed can indicate to us that you were targeted because of where you're employed. For example, persons say maybe working at Marriott and realize, look, all of these victims were working at Marriott. They live at Tabernacle, they live at St. Peter's, they live at Newton Ground, but yet all of them are employed at Marriott. Their homes were broken into when they were at work. So we then say, okay, someone is targeting persons who are employed at the Marriott, maybe even working a particular shift.
Right.
So it may be someone that they know. We then start to look at who do these people know in common.
Right.
And these are the little things that you have to look at when you're examining crime. The little things that may not seem relevant to you, to the investigator, or to the crime analyst will become relevant.
Okay. Talking about that, collecting data, what's the process in reporting? I think the caller called in earlier, and he made mention of, of a program we had a few weeks ago when the officer was saying a lot of time people are making reports they're not following up. So what exactly is the correct procedure as it relates to reports and follow-ups?
Right. When a report is made, an initial report based on what the person would have told the officer, whether over the phone or when they come to the station, it will be recorded. Then the investigator should then go to the scene and do their investigation, because we have to verify what the report is made is true and accurate. and or whether or not the report, so that we can record the report accordingly by law what offense was committed. Larceny as opposed to a robbery, a break-in as opposed to a robbery. And a lot of people call and say the house got robbed, but really it's a break-in into a house, or it might even be a larceny in a dwelling house based on the circumstances. So we have to do the initial investigation to determine what offense, if any, has been committed. Subsequent to that, we would then have to follow up. One of the things that we've trained our officers is in the follow-up procedure. You have to keep the victim informed of the process of the investigation. Most investigations should be completed within 17 days, based on our paper-based system. Why we say 14 days is because usually you would be able to exhaust your investigation process within those 17 days. We may close the report. We'd have to inform you of that first. However, that does not prevent us from reopening the report. There's some reports based on the statute of limitations, they would have to be closed after 6 months because the law says you can't go beyond that. And then you have some that have a 12-month lifespan. But once we do certain things, that can go even longer. So the follow-up process, it's part of the normal process where we should follow up and inform the victim of the process of the investigation, whether or not we're able to arrest someone in relation to the report, whether or not we found items that might be theirs, as well as what is the status of the investigation. Additionally, as I said, because this new form that we're going to be introducing, it requires a bit more information. We know that we will not be able to collect all of it in that initial report. Based on the nature of the report. For example, if it's a violent crime and there are injuries, we're not going to be asking you some questions right up front because we know we have to take certain factors into consideration. Right. So at the later stage, maybe when we were taking a statement from that individual, because we'd have to take statements, especially if the matter is going to, well, whether or not the matter is going to go to court, we have to take a statement. And in that process, we would also collect that information that we were not able to collect in that initial report. So it's not like if we're going to be asking you what church you attend in that initial contact for a morning incident. That will come later on as we do our further investigation to investigate the report.
So while you have the situation going on, along the way you'll collect your data accordingly.
There are some basic information that we must collect, like who is the victim, where it happened, when it happened. The information such as why it happened comes later on at a more convenient time.
I understand what you're saying, but before I take this call, in a nutshell, like you're saying, making a report doesn't end my query.
No, it's macro. It's very large. It can be extensive.
All right, let's go back to the line. We lost that one. Line 3, you're live, and good morning.
Okay, me again. Good morning again to everybody there. I may have confused the issue there coming out from Timothy Beach. Let me ask you a question, Inspector Henry. When you're coming out from Timothy Beach, I'm supposed to give way to the traffic coming up the hill by Timothy Hill?
Yes, that's correct.
But then what I noticed that you have the markings on Frigate Bay Hill, the dotted lines, but you don't have the dotted lines coming out from Timothy Beach. So what the dotted line indicate to me as a driver?
Well, the dotted lines, they are giveaway signs. But I think that if there's none on the road, there is an upright sign. I could recall seeing an upright sign as you approach that roundabout there, indicating that you should give way. So the lines just indicate where you should stop.
But the lines coming off of Frigate Bay Hill.
You're saying there are no lines coming out of Timothy Beach?
No, there's not. That's
but there's a sign.
There's an
upright sign. There's an upright sign.
Oh, well then, I have to revisit that again then.
Yes,
so if I confuse anybody there, I must apologize.
There's an upright sign there.
There's no dotted line coming out of Timothy Beach. So I have to revisit. But the dotted line is coming out of Timothy Hill.
Okay.
That is what was confusing to me.
Right, but those are for traffic who are entering from the Zenway Boulevard into the roundabout. So the traffic coming out of Timothy Beach, out of Timothy Hill, would give way to traffic coming from Zenway Boulevard into the roundabout.
Oh, but for me who coming from Timothy Beach, I have to give way
to that traffic coming from
the hill.
From anybody who is in the roundabout, for that matter, yes.
At any roundabout, you give way to traffic that's on your right.
Yes, I know that, but I was just a little confused.
The same applies here. The same thing applies. You have to give way to the person who's coming off the hill. Once
Okay, well then I'm gonna have to revisit that and see if there is a sign.
But there's an upright sign.
Officer, they want to drive the three wheel thing there. What's your name?
Rose?
Rose, man, I have to heal you up. She dropped a summons in my backside there Saturday, man.
Something you did right now.
I didn't see the sign to go up there by Parcel bud. Because I don't normally drive that road there when I go in market. I always take Central Street and go down.
Yeah.
But for some reason, I was trying to take a shortcut, and the shortcut cost me $100. So, Officer Rose, I still love you.
Yes,
I just make a mistake, and you drop that $100 on me, man. Anyway, you have a pleasant day.
I think too many persons making that mistake.
Yes,
maybe
man.
that is why.
You have a good day, man. Let's take this next call. Line 2, you're live and good morning.
You hear that?
Yes.
Okay, my friend Hanley, next time take a long cut. I have a question here, and I'm confused about that. Couple of years ago, a person was caught with what you call drugs, and it was in the police station, and it was supposed to be properly secured. Now, the information from the individual who was caught with that was on the police database. But then when he ready for the case to be tried in court, the drugs could not have been found. So I would like to know now, since the evidence is the drugs to match with the database that was written by the police, how would that case go in the court? Yes, you have the evidence, but what the police get from the person verbally, but then no evidence there with the drugs. So my question is that how would that case end up in court? What the final decision, what judgment would cast upon the culprit? A listener of the ear.
Well, that would be for matter for the court. The court would have to determine the case based on what evidence or lack thereof is before it. So I cannot say how the court would deal with it. The court would determine how we deal with the case based on the circumstances.
All right.
Good answer.
Gentlemen, we're going to wrap up the program here. Any last words?
Well, we want to thank those persons who would have called in and asked questions. Even those questions that were not relevant to the topic, we still welcome those questions because we want to educate persons not only on what specific topic we are discussing, but educate them on anything that they wish to be educated on. So we thank those persons who would have called in, those who would have expressed some reservations that they had with the police. We also like to hear those because that is the only way that we can improve. If we hear what we are doing that is not to the public satisfaction, then we improve in those areas. To Jam Down, who called in and speak about his observations and the things that disgust him, we do listen to him and we do address them. Sometimes we might not do it as quickly as he expects, but we do listen and we do respond. So we want to thank all those persons who would have participated, and for those persons who would have been interested in the actual topic that we came here for, we thank you for your call. That particular call who's call about update the security of the system and the updating of the records, how it will be updated. The records will be updated as the investigation progresses. So whenever there are changes to the investigation, that investigator will be responsible for going back to the system and update. So if you get more information at a subsequent time to the person coming to make the report, you would always go back and update the record accordingly, so that by the time the investigation is complete, the record would be, the data would be collected. The complete data should be in the system. So the process is not a one-time process. It's over the period of the life of the investigation. So we want to again thank those callers who would have called in, and we wish everybody a peaceful day.
Sergeant Thompson, he spoke for you.
Well, what I would have to say is that we would ask the public to bear with us as we're looking at a new dimension of how we police the Federation, in that we're trying to standardize the way we do things, such as when persons come to the station now, we're going to be asking them for photo IDs to corroborate who they are, as well as the data that we're putting in the system, because I keep saying that I have one individual name in the system spelled like 3 or 4 different ways.
Wow.
Because as it is right now, every time a person comes to the station, they input the person's name, and it's a different officer who may be inputting it, and they did not corroborate the spelling of the name, so it's spelled 3 or 4 different ways. So when officers now ask for IDs, please bear in mind that we are trying to improve our process of the service that we provide to the public, and once we get it right once, we won't have to do it again. Right. So that said, the project is aimed at how we can better improve the service we provide to the public. One of the things I saw when I was at school is that the area that I lived, I went onto the police website and I was able to pull up crime that happened in that in the entire city. I could see the crime and then zoom in on my area and see what crimes happened in my area. So I had a break-in in that place or a robbery that close. So I made my path around those areas, and hopefully we can get to the point where we can develop that data output to the public as well. So it's not just that we're collecting data for ourselves, but how we can better police our communities and better inform the society, our citizenry of crime, and how they also can help prevent crime, because there's a component of the training, a component of the project where in the crime analysis training we look at things like the causes of crime and how people enable crime or how people can prevent crime. So there's going to be more coming out of this project.
Thanks for that update.
Well,
Inspector Elwood?
Yes, sir. I want to thank you two for coming. GQ, I want to thank you for you have been this program very reliable moderator. Thank you, sir. To the management staff at ZIZ, I want to thank you for allowing us to have this program weekly. To the callers, thank you for calling. And to those of you who are thinking about calling, I welcome your contribution in the future. Thank you again, and see you guys next week.
Mommy, remember you told me if I pass all my exams, you would buy me a brand new laptop computer, a cell phone, and a PlayStation 4? Well, here are the results.
Wow, son, you did great.